When Heaven Can't Wait, written by Gwen Michalek and Jill Emerson. An earth angel is merely a human being who is sent to share God's messages with the world. When Heaven Can't Wait is a strong message. All souls are sent to earth with a distinct purpose in mind. While all are enrolled in the school of life, the length of time on earth is not indicative of a soul's accomplishments. The essence of life is to learn, to serve, and to grow. In truth, there are some souls on earth whose primary purpose is to serve. These are the old souls who have advanced in their pursuit of enlightenment. These souls willingly do that which will contribute to the greater good of mankind. These souls know the secret to living is in the giving, and enthusiastically do that which will contribute to the greater good. In truth, there are some souls who are simply meant to serve. These are the old souls who understand the need of doing so. Hence, the little children who are in fact old souls who have no need of earthly lessons. Rather, they are here to teach. A parent who is entrusted with the care of an old soul has indeed been given the greatest gift of all, for they have experienced God's grace. This book is dedicated to the children of Sandy Hook Elementary, whose lives have forever changed the hearts of many throughout the world. It is through these precious souls the world will become a better place, having been graced by their presence. It is our fervent prayer those who come to read this little book will be filled with joy, knowing what is to come for all who believe in Him. Chapter 1. When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Depending on where one is in their spiritual journey, atrocities such as the one at Sandy Hook can be most difficult to understand. Until evil is abated once and for all, the battle between good and evil will continue to rage throughout the world. There will never be the right words to say when it comes to the loss of a loved one, especially when it comes to the death of a child. A precious being who is so very innocent, who is so full of joy. Yes, a soul that has not yet been tarnished by that which is of the world. We as mere humans cannot truly grasp why a life would suddenly be snuffed out from one who is so small, and yet we who believe in Jesus know our Father's ways are not the ways of the world. This booklet is written in the hopes it will bring joy to all who have lost a little one. Jesus often proclaims throughout the Bible how very much He loves the little children. I like to think the following is what took place on that fateful day when 28 lives were so viciously snuffed out. For the parents of these children, their lives will never be the same. And yet I pray whoever happens upon this book will be touched by the wings of God as He gives them fresh eyes to see what awaits all in paradise. Chapter 2. The Meeting. Saint Michael was the chief guardian of all the guardian angels throughout the world. It was most disheartening for Saint Michael when one of his guardians felt they had failed their beloved human. Every human was assigned his very own special guardian angel. He loved to hear the enthusiastic reports as they reviewed with him the progress each soul was making on their earthly journey. For the most part, guardian angels were not allowed to interfere with the choices their charges made. Yet all guardian angels did their utmost to protect these precious souls. All guardians were well versed in the tools Satan and his legion were using. More and more were becoming frustrated at the onslaught of evil which was now occurring at an alarming rate throughout the world. The guardians had stood by and watched a complacent America ignore the throes of evil which were now well entrenched into society. Humans were absorbed with self, often disregarding the responsibility one individual should innately have for another. Technology controlled a large part of the American household. Violence was reported on a daily basis through not only the media, but other programs as well. Cartoons, which once were caricatures of bunny rabbits and Yogi Bears, now were superheroes armed with assault weapons which young and old minds alike could bring to life via video games and other such technological creations. As a result, the children who used to fantasize about white fluffy clouds, angels, puppy dogs, and more now looked forward to participating in games which centered on killing and destruction. These games were a much-used tool of Satan and his legion, for he and he alone knew how vulnerable these young minds were. Yes, what a way to manipulate the upcoming generation. The guardians were most alarmed to see how many households had now been infiltrated with such types of entertainment. These were just some of the frustrations the guardians expounded upon on more than one occasion. How could goodness prevail when man did not recognize the tools of the adversary? It was with a sense of foreboding St. Michael met with Jesus. In retrospect, he should have known something of great significance was about to transpire, as Jesus knew how busy St. Michael and his guardians had been of late. Jesus could tell by the expression on St. Michael's face it was best to get straight to the point. "Soon, my dear Michael, there will be another mass shooting in America," Jesus proclaimed. "I know we have discussed similar types of events before, yet I fear this one will be particularly difficult for you. As you know, there are those times when I have asked you and the guardians to not intervene, and this, I fear, is one of them. There is a young man whom I have been trying to reach for a very long time, yet I am afraid it has been to no avail. He has been subjected to so much throughout his life. He has been haunted by thoughts which are debilitating to the soul. These thoughts have opened the door for darkness to pervade his being, and now Satan has taken control of his soul. He has been tormented for quite some time, and for years has been fighting back the desire to harm others. This is a direct result of Satan's unceasing influence. There will be those who will say, 'I am not a just God for allowing this to happen.' Yet, St. Michael, these are desperate times, and there is much at stake. Very soon he will carry out his master plan. He has had access to a variety of guns throughout his childhood. His mother is a collector of guns and taught herself, as well as her sons, how to handle these guns proficiently. Unfortunately, his mother has not heeded the multitude of warnings I have been sending her. This, combined with the hatred which is raging in his being, will now become unleashed in a most horrific fashion. Neither you nor your guardians will be allowed to interfere, as man must understand the magnitude of evil which is now being unleashed throughout America. I am certain he will be attacking an elementary school. What I can tell you is all who are affected will be protected by their guardians. Those who are shot will be shielded from pain. Although their mortal bodies will be terminated, all will immediately be escorted to my Father's house. Of this you can be certain." These types of senseless attacks angered Michael more than any mortal could possibly understand. To hear what was looming on the horizon was unthinkable for St. Michael. He understood the Father always knew best, yet this was one of the hardest parts of his job. It was so against his nature to restrain himself from situations such as these, especially when he knew there would be children involved. Chapter 3, The Arrival. The angel of joy wanted to assure the parents that on that dreadful and fateful December day, each child had been wrapped in the wings of their own guardian angel. None of these children would experience the effects of the bullets entering their bodies. Instead, they would feel a soothing warmth resonating through their precious beings. Soon, very soon, they would be home. None would remember the fateful events of that day as they traveled towards heaven. Being escorted by their own guardian angel, they would simply look forward with joyful anticipation to what was to come. Now, when children arrive at the gates of heaven, it is a celebration beyond anything imaginable on earth. Children are always given immediate entry into the Father's kingdom. They are so sweet and pure, and therefore are not subject to the same scrutiny as adults. After all, the little ones are so close to the divine. They had not been on earth long enough to be unduly influenced by the evil one. Although these children's length of time had come to an abrupt end on earth, their sacrifice would accomplish more than many lifetimes put together. The children of Sandy Hook Elementary were perfection in the truest sense of the word. If only those who resided on earth could experience the sheer joy those in the kingdom were feeling at this time. Yet, the angel of joy knew many were filled with sorrow over this fateful event. This always saddened Joy, as she wanted those who were left behind to feel comforted. She wanted them to know their little ones were in the arms of their heavenly Father. If only each could glimpse into the heavens to see what awaits all in their Father's kingdom. Although she knew this was not possible, she had what she thought was a most fantastic idea. What if Wendy and Jillian were to write about what they knew to be true? What if they wrote about the Father's heavenly kingdom and the celebration which was certain to take place? As earth angels, they had been sent to share God's messages with the world. The angel of joy knew the joy this message would bring to those who were suffering so at this time. Wendy could not stop thinking about the precious souls who were on their way to heaven's gates. She had participated in many such celebrations while in her father's kingdom. She and Jillian loved being a part of the welcoming committee and so enjoyed wrapping their feathery wings around each one of the cherubs. Now, as an earth angel, she could write about what she knew to be true. Chapter 4, Heaven. One cannot imagine what awaits them in paradise. There is nothing that compares to it on earth. Heaven is surrounded on all sides by the sea. The clear azure waters gently lap to and fro atop the white sparkling sand, providing a perfect playground for all who partake of the warm, silky beaches. Lush green meadows are filled with every type of flower one could ever imagine. Field after field of bright red poppies, golden sunflowers, tulips, the likes of which have never been seen on earth, adorn the countryside. Bright-colored butterflies dart in and out amongst the flowers as seagulls soar above. Beautiful robins, bluebirds, sparrows, and more hop from branch to branch, chirping merrily about. Every kind of animal is represented in heaven. There are long-necked giraffes, kingly lions, elephants, chattering monkeys, kangaroos with their young tucked securely in their pouches, and many more amazing creatures roaming freely throughout the kingdom. Of course, there are domestic animals, too. Dogs and cats are ideal playmates for all who reside in heaven. Often when the young and old arrive from earth, they are reunited with their beloved pets who had arrived before them. This was always such a heartwarming reunion to observe, for the love shared between man and his pet is most special indeed. Any child would be hard-pressed to not be in awe of the many wonders heaven offered, wonders such as these which would be explored upon arrival. For many, it would seem as though they had entered the most beautiful fairy tale of their lives. St. Michael knew each of the children by name. He knew special little things about each and every one of them. Prior to their arrival in heaven, he had received reports from each of the guardian angels, guardians who had been with them since their arrival on earth. He knew, for example, at least 2 of the children loved horses. He would make certain horses would be waiting at the gate for those who wanted to ride. Activities surrounding Christmas were to be orchestrated to include the making and decorating of gingerbread houses. This was an activity the children had been looking forward to on earth and therefore would be acted upon in heaven. He knew their likes and their dislikes, and now they would all be attended to. These precious souls who could light up a room with their smiling faces. Each had a zeal, a quest for life, which would not soon be forgotten on earth. Chapter 5, Welcome Home. St. Peter had done such a remarkable job of decorating. In fact, many would say he and the others had outdone themselves this time. Vibrant balloons adorned the tops of the golden gates. Every color of the rainbow was represented as they swayed to and fro gently in the wind. The air smelled of honeysuckle and jasmine, a scent like none other on earth. The gentle tinkling of bells could be heard from afar. In truth, this was the sound of laughter resonating from the little cherubs of the kingdom who were so anxiously awaiting the arrival of their new friends. Those who resided in heaven loved to take the new cherubs under their wings. They loved to share in their delight as they explored the many wonders of their Father's kingdom. Guarding the entranceway of heaven stood St. Peter, as he, of course, held the key to the golden gates. St. Michael and the angel of joy stood by his side for the welcoming of these most magnificent guests. "Here they come!" exclaimed St. Peter. "We must all make ready for their arrival. We want them to feel at home." The heavenly choir could be heard from a distance. Their lilting voices were like nothing heard on earth, as they created the most wonderful sound indeed. In front of this dynamic trio stood Jesus. With arms outstretched, he made ready to embrace each and every one of his most precious children. Standing next to Jesus was the most beautiful yellow Labrador one had ever seen. Jasmine had just arrived the night before from Earth. His body had been restored to its youthful state, and now he would have the esteemed honor of welcoming these precious cherubs into the Father's kingdom. Jesus had told Jasmine these children were coming from the same town he had lived in with his owner. His owner's son, who was Jasmine's best friend on earth, had gone to school with the little children who would soon become his new playmates. Just this fact alone made it a more meaningful event. For Jasmine, this was the most fantastic treat of all, as he so loved the little children. And now he would have many new friends in which he could while away the hours with. He didn't even mind the bright red bow that now adorned his neck, for on earth he would have resisted any attempt by his owners to place a bow, such a feminine ornament, on his kingly body. Yet here in heaven it was quite a different story. He would allow anything if it added to the festivities. Yes, he was greatly honored to have been included in this most wondrous welcoming committee. In anticipation of what was to come, Jasmine's tail wagged uncontrollably behind him. The light which was now resonating from the gates of heaven sparkled, as though 1,000,000,000 stars were flitting about. This, on top of the light which emanated from Jesus, could be seen for millions of miles away. As the entourage approached, the guardians could hardly contain themselves, for they knew all would be well once they arrived. From little curly redheads to sun-kissed blondes, what a magnificent assortment they made. Many were gingerly clinging to their favorite stuffed animal, as each guardian knew how important these little friends had become. No detail had been left unattended to. As a result, it was a most pleasant journey for all. When they arrived at Heaven's Gate, the children knew they had indeed come home. Intrinsically, they knew the Father's kingdom was from whence they had come. As Jesus held each child in his arms, they understood all in his embrace. They had returned home from a most significant journey, a journey which would affect the hearts and lives of many on earth in the days and months to come. Although many on earth would struggle with the losses from this devastating event, all in time would come to understand the significance of this atrocity. They would acknowledge once and for all the battle between good and evil. These heroic little souls, whose lights would shine forever, had played a most important role in what would come to be known as the beginning of the greatest plan on earth. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Thank you for listening to our 4th book in our Little Book series, When Heaven Can't Wait. We hope you enjoyed. And we also invite you to visit our webpage at www.earthangelsbook.com and also to visit our weekly blog. Thank you, and may God bless you.